Okay. So, like I said, my name is Jennifer Clayton, the Attorney Wellbeing Program Manager for the New York State Bar Association, and I'm here today with Elizabeth Pyjove. Elizabeth, this is her second annual Thanksgiving practice with us, and I'm so excited to have her here. Um, really a friend of the Wellbeing Program. Elizabeth is a lawyer, facilitator, speaker, and leadership program creator. She holds 3 Harvard degrees, speaks 5 languages, has lived in 7 countries, and has taught 10,000 people resilience, mental strength, and happiness. Elizabeth studied neuroscience at Stanford Medical School and brings brain science to every program she designs and facilitates. Her past experiences include working as an investment funds associate at Sidley Austin, human rights work at the United Nations, and investigations for the New York Attorney General's office. Elizabeth is the founder and director of 3 organizations. Through through Lead with Compassion, she collaborates with some of the most successful companies in the world to offer trainings. Through her nonprofit work, which is entitled Compassionate World, she works with universities and nonprofit organizations. Finally, she offers programs for the general public through Happiness Sanha. Elizabeth has taught at Stanford University, Harvard Law School, Columbia University, NYU Medical School, and the Bates Neuroscience Department. She has presented at the Library of Congress, the Carlyle Group, Novartis, Deutsche Bank, the Eastern District of New York, and top law firms including Wheel, Baker McKenzie, Perkins Coie, and Quinn Emanuel. She works on a monthly basis with judges of the New York Appellate Court. And really, this work is the biggest privilege of her life, and we are so lucky to have her here this evening, again for the second annual Thanksgiving practice. Elizabeth, welcome, and I will pass the mic over to you.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here again and to be with the New York State Bar Association and to help lawyers cultivate those inner heart qualities. So thank you to all of you who decided to join in your busy schedule. I know it's 2 days before Thanksgiving. And for me, the holidays is what heart quality can we cultivate more of? So every holiday, every kind of cyclical seasons holiday that we have is what can we do to open the heart more? What can we do for more compassion? What can we do for more gratitude? What can we do to set our intentions more authentically? And I think kind of the year offers a really nice framework for that. And November is such a good month to be grateful for today, to be grateful to your ancestors, to be grateful to your body, to be grateful for the people in your life. And the first thing that I want to say is that gratitude is really like the glue that holds relationships together. So if there's a glue there for happy relationships with your coworkers, with fellow lawyers, with your family, with your friends, with any loved ones, it's telling that you're grateful. And there's a very specific technique that works for this, and it's being very specific, not like, oh, I'm very grateful for you. That's a really nice thing to hear. But if you want to impact people even more, tell them the very specific thing they did. Like, I am grateful that Jennifer Clayton took the time to organize this wonderful program the second year in a row with all the logistics that lie behind this. And I'm very grateful to all of you that in the million things that you can be doing, you're here tonight to do gratitude meditation and learn science of gratitude and open your heart. And that's more powerful. So try using this for people in your life. And if you want to make the world a better place, if you want to contribute to the world, try expressing more gratitude. Try gratitude just being more on the tip of your tongue, and let it be honest, let it be genuine. Reflect on how you're grateful to other people, because our life is wonderful thanks to each other, right? The quality of our life is the quality of our connections to each other and by how much we pay attention to those connections. So let's just do kind of a roadmap for today. I'll show you a brief PowerPoint just for a roadmap. So today we'll talk about the science of gratitude. We'll do gratitude practices. We'll do a body gratitude meditation. We'll talk about gratitude in religions, gratitude in the science. But before I say anything else, I want to bring in some ancient voices and some more diverse voices into our conversation tonight. And let's talk about, what do past geniuses have to say about compassion? What are some ideas out there that are timeless? And we'll go first to ancient Rome, around the Roman Empire, Cicero. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. And next we have Rumi on gratitude. Wear gratitude like a cloak, and it will feed every area of your life. And I think that's an especially beautiful one. And again, I love the kind of variety of places, variety of time periods. Next, we have America, Henry David Thoreau. I am grateful for what I have. I am grateful for what I am and what I have. My thanksgiving is perpetual. It is surprising how contented one can be with only a sense of existence. My wealth is not possession, but enjoyment. And I think this is such a radical statement in so many ways. It's like, what can you be grateful for when you just first open your eyes and you start the day and nothing has happened yet, but you exist and you have a body and you can do so much with that body and you can make so many choices for your day. In that moment, what can you be grateful for before anything has happened, before any objects or consumerism or accomplishments are involved? Can you bring gratitude just into being? So today we'll spend some time being grateful for your body and for your breath, the things that are just there the moment you open your eyes in the morning, and they're a tremendous gift. We can do without a lot of things, but those are the things we can't do without: our body, our breath, our intention, our good heart. Those are the things that are absolutely necessary. Two more. Friedrich Nietzsche, German philosopher. The essence of all beauty is gratitude. And I think when we create beauty on this earth, when you create beauty around you, it's an act of gratitude to the world. When you do good work, when you make a space beautiful, it's an act of appreciation to the world. And finally, one of my absolute favorite poets, Maya Angelou: when we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. So that is just some more voices. And I want to bring one more voice into the conversation. And that's the voice of one of the Harvard professors who I studied with at Harvard Divinity School, named Michael Pewitt. And he was remarkable in that he's won the Best Professor Award more times than any other professor. And he has more students signing up for his class for every single class in the university except the Introduction to Economics. The Introduction to Economics is like a baseline class for so many other classes as a prerequisite that it's the most popular one. But the second most popular class is his class. And there's something he does that no other professor does. When any student hands him a paper, and he has hundreds and hundreds of students, they do it technically because it's a requirement of the course. And like, he takes it, he reads it, he gives it a grade. But before doing any of that, for any essay anyone ever turns in, first he expresses gratitude. So he looks at the student, he says, "Thank you for taking the time to write this paper. Thank you for giving the gift to me of this paper. I really look forward to hearing your ideas. I really look forward to reading it. Thank you for engaging in these complex ideas of ancient Chinese philosophy." So he always says a thank you to every single student. And when he hands back the grade and he hands it back the comment, he doesn't just leave it there. He always says thank you again to every single student. And this attitude of being grateful, not saying like, oh, it's just the student's job to write a paper, oh, it's just their job to do this, but being grateful for everything you receive. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I think it completely changes one's experience, and it completely changes the quality of our ability to connect with each other. So I'm going to stop sharing screen if I can figure out how to. There we go. And we're going to keep talking about this material. So we can find the root of gratitude across world teachings, across world religions. We will get to that very soon. And I kind of want to look at what the heart is in a lot of different traditions. But before we kind of keep being cerebral, I want to do a practice with you. So I want to do a meditation with you because I want you to experience it. And I want you to experience this kind of gratitude that Henry David Thoreau talks about. That's the gratitude of just being, the gratitude of everything that you have already. And I know lawyers especially, we're very focused on results. We're very focused on what we can measure. We're very focused on what's concrete, what's on paper, and it's part of the profession. but I want you to expand your mind for gratitude for the things you absolutely can't measure that are just there for you. And we'll start with bringing attention to different parts of the body and just being grateful to the body that we have that. So for this meditation, with your permission, just put everything down and move to the very back of your seat. And let your body feel at ease. Let your body feel comfortable. Let the heaviness of your body release back down into the seat. And acknowledge that we often pay attention to the body only when the body is doing something we don't want it to. We only notice the body when there is something off. Today, we'll do a practice to notice what is right with the body. So, welcome to this practice of befriending yourself, befriending your body, bringing a grateful awareness to what already is. Let your eyes softly close. Let your computer, well, not your computer, but let your work close. Place one hand inside the other on your lap. Feel the eyelids relax softly. Feel the shoulders release softly. And feel the belly release. And now bring your awareness to your feet and bring to mind a way that your feet have served you in your life. It might be today, this week, maybe this year. How have your feet served you? What are those feet doing for you? And bring awareness to your legs. Just even today, what have your legs allowed you to do? What are the places where these legs and these feet have brought you over the years? What are they doing for you daily? And thank your legs. Thank your feet for supporting you, for moving you through space, for being there for you. Bringing a gentle, grateful awareness and bathing your feet, bathing your legs, letting them be as you are, and relaxing into this grateful presence. And now bring your awareness to the belly. Feel into the belly. And you might thank the belly for making the act of breathing easy and for making digestion easy. Let the stomach, the belly relax, bringing your grateful awareness there. And now bring your awareness to the back. Feel the uprightness and the flexibility of your spine. Feel the dignity that is there at the spine. And ask yourself, how has my back supported me? How has my back helped me move through life? What are all the positions that my back allows my body to take? What are all the moments when I was able to enter a room and stand up straight thanks to the back? And now bring awareness to your heart. You might even place one or both hands to the heart to connect, to feel that heartbeat. And as your hand touches your chest about where you think your heart is, feel the beating heart. And thank the heart for beating every moment of your life. Even when you're asleep, even when you're not trying, thank the heart for still beating and pumping blood to every part of your body. And metaphorically, thank your heart for caring. Thank your heart for feeling love, for feeling joy, for feeling happiness. And thank the heart for all the ways that it connects with others. Thank your heart for this unconditional ability to connect with other hearts. Feeling grateful for every moment of love, for every moment of inner peace, for every moment of alignment to your true intention. And now bring that same awareness to the arms and the hands, feeling into them, letting them release. And ask yourself, how have my arms and my hands supported me very concretely in this life? What have they allowed me to do? We use our arms and our hands so often. Express gratitude for all the amazing things they allow you to do, these skills of creativity that they allow you to play out. Thanking your hands and your arms for everything you've written, for everything you've cooked, for every time you've held another's hand. And just very simply, thanking your arms for all the things they've carried throughout your life. Thinking of all the objects in your life that you have carried. And saying thank you. And finally, place your awareness on your face, your head, the skin on the face, everything that is there. Feeling into the face. Let the face release. And ask yourself, what do my face and my head allow me to do? Every minute, all the time. So much, so very much. Thanking the face for helping you smell and taste, hear and see, and give others a smile. Let yourself feel grateful that you can speak your truth, that you can hear beautiful music daily, that you can see so much beauty in the world, that you can speak to your loved ones, being grateful for the taste of coffee or tea in the morning, being grateful for all the senses that connect you to life minute by minute. And now feel grateful to the mind that is processing your whole experience, tuning into the mind. And you might thank it for getting you through this meditation when it may have been more interested in entertaining itself or distracting itself. Instead, thank the mind for being open to friendliness, self-friendliness. And with your body still relaxed, feel into your whole body and give the body one warm and heartfelt thank you. Thank your body for getting you here to this moment and to all the places it's helped you go and all the things it helps you do. Knowing that there's no experience you've had in this life that is separate from this body moving you through life. Knowing that it will be with you for the rest of the journey. And take a deep breath in. And take a deep breath out through the mouth. And as you feel ready, opening your eyes, coming back to our common space. And whatever you see, sending gratitude there. And we are here in a group, in a community. So just as an act of appreciation for each other, if you want to just turn on your camera for a second and send a grateful smile to the others doing this practice with you. Those who are your community for tonight, just sending some warmth, some appreciation that we get to do this together, which is so much more fun than doing it alone. Thank you for your nice smiles. Thank you for your warmth. I love seeing your faces light up. So nice to say hello. Thank you for that. So we talked about kind of gratitude from others' points of views. We experienced a gratitude meditation, and it's really the experience that matters to me the most, that you experience it. How did that go for you? How was that experience? You can put it in the chat. What was it like to send your body appreciation as opposed to criticism or disappointment or harshness or all the things we usually send our bodies, or unreasonable demands that they be perfect? What was it like to send friendliness and gratitude instead? And you can just put a word in the chat if you like. Relief. Thank you. A relief. Wonderful. Surprising. Oh, Thomas, say more about that. Calming. Good. Nice to have focus on something you often take for granted. Yes. And so much of gratitude is focusing on the things we take for granted. Uplifting. Good. Welcoming. Yeah, I want to welcome our body. Wonderful. And let's talk about what is gratitude. So I know that you already know, and your own definition of gratitude can change year to year, day to day. I'd love to hear in the chat how you would define gratitude, and we'll look at a broad variety of definitions. What is gratitude to you? I would say it's a kind of thankfulness and a kind of wonder and a kind of appreciation of life that brings a luminosity to everything that you look at. Or another nice definition is an acknowledgement of what we have received, acknowledging that we receive something of value from others and from the world all the time, both tangible and intangible. And gratitude is also a way of savoring the things that we take for granted. And it's also just a way to connect to ourselves, because we connect to what we cherish. By realizing what it is that we are grateful for, we connect to the things that we deeply cherish. So, according to the scientists, gratitude can be viewed in several ways. You can look at it as a mood, like today I'm in a grateful mood. I'll send gratitude tonight after this talk. It can be seen as an emotion, or it can be seen as a trait. So, there is such a thing as a grateful personality, and that's what we're working toward. So, as we meditate, as you do the practices that we'll talk about today, you're building your ability to be happier and healthier because you're building a personality type that's grateful. And this is so good for your personal life. I would say it's also very important for your professional life. As a lawyer, you always work with so many other people, right? You work with paralegals, you work with fellow lawyers, you ask for advice, you have a team. If you can be grateful to the people you work with, that strengthens your professional capacity. If you can be grateful for yourself, that's your self-compassion, that's your self-appreciation. If you can send gratitude to others in your life, that's your compassion practice, and that's your ability to connect with others. And I would not only limit yourself to being grateful to the people who are kind and nice to you, be grateful for the challenging people. Be grateful for the challenging people because they're either teaching you how to put up boundaries, or they're making your heart more spacious in the sense that when you can still see the humanness and the humanity in someone who you're in competition with, or who's different than you, or whose views you don't agree with. I think this is all a lesson we could use right now in our times. If you can still see the full humanity of that person, that makes your heart bigger. That creates more spaciousness in you. A practice that we just did with Happiness Sangha is compassion for all your ancestors. And this is also a Thanksgiving practice. And on every ancestor's line, there's everything. We all have robbers. We all have very spiritual people. We all have anything and anyone, and every kind of vice is probably there in your family line, just like every kind of virtue. And being able to say, I'm grateful to all my ancestors, it's a very expansive, spacious compassion practice. So it's a way to connect to the world. It's a way to connect to others. It's a way to connect to yourself. I want you to think about, what are you really grateful for? And it's like we have this thing in mind of like the things we should be grateful for. Like, I should be grateful for these 3 things in my life. I want to ask you a very personal question, and it's, today, what are you actually most grateful for? Today, what's the true highlight of your day? What do you really cherish? What put a smile on your face? What created this sense of warmth and expansion in your heart today? And I'll ask you to write down 3 things, or as many as you can think of, just today while we're here together. Just jot them down or write it in the chat so that we can kind of have this moment of sharing and exchange with each other. What are 3 things, 3 or more, that today to you made your heart sing, was a moment of meaning for you? And I'll just give you a moment to write that down, because it's a practice that I hope you take with you as an end of the day practice, or during the day practice, just as you go through everything else. My beautiful dog. Yes, that's wonderful. The architecture of Lower Broadway in New York is beautiful. I love seeing these grateful things come into the chat. Talking about Thanksgiving plans with coworkers, my family calling in just to see how I'm doing. When my 11-year-old niece texted me telling me it was snowing. It's beautiful. Connection to my daughter. Instacart, rain. Crisp fall Midwestern weather. Walking through my neighborhood, sharing meaningful connection with my sister, resting, family. Beautiful. So I see these coming in. So a practice that I want to suggest for you, and this makes an enormous difference in your happiness, your health, your day, is as you go through a day, keep a notebook. And on that day, write down the authentic moments of joy, the authentic moments of things you're grateful for. And if you're grateful to someone, write what it is that they did. So I'm grateful that this person did this. So be as specific as you can for that. But expand it out. You can be grateful to the author of the book you're reading. I'm always reading a book of poetry during my day, every day. And I'm always grateful to that new poet if I'm enjoying it. If you're playing classical music as you do work, can you be grateful to Schumann or Strauss or whoever that composer is? if you saw a beautiful piece of art, and if you're in New York City, as I think many of you are, you get to see a lot of art just throughout the year, being grateful to the artist. So try to be grateful to people you know, and try to also be grateful to people you don't know. Like today, I'm grateful to all the practitioners of gratitude who turned it into a practice over thousands of years, passed down this practice to us, so that scientists tested it in the labs in the last 30 years. We know its benefits, and we can continue the practice and bring it to new generations. But we have those people from thousands of years ago to thank, and that's wonderful. So there's a practice that I want to recommend for you. It's doing a gratitude meditation at least once a month, not just Thanksgiving month, not just November, but once a month, every single month. And just jotting down as a habit everything that you're grateful for that day, and have it be specific so it's interesting for you. And think about it, like, what are we going to leave with? Like when we leave this earth, what footprint will we leave? It's really nice to leave a footprint of all the things that you're grateful for day by day, and all the highlights and all the joys. And that's kind of what you'll get to leave behind if you do this every single day. So I want to kind of talk about gratitude from a scientific point of view. And first is it's that gratitude builds your mindfulness. Gratitude is a way of being in the present. And so much of the quality of your work, your relationships, is whether you can be in the present moment. But gratitude is a way of focusing on the present, seeing the present more clearly, not missing the present, and having kind of an objective sense of what's happening in the present. There was a scientific analysis done by Shelley Gable and Jonathan Haidt that suggested that every single day we have 3 times more positive experiences than negative ones. But our minds, of course, tends to go to the negative ones. Our minds, from an evolutionary point of view, we talked about this at the State Bar Association talk on the inner critic, but our minds are created to underestimate our level of resources and overestimate the level of threat. So it's not just your mind. You're not just the one neurotic lawyer out of everyone. It's everyone's mind is created that way. I would say lawyers even more so, because they're always trained and paid to look for what could go wrong. More so than any other profession, you have to constantly think of the risk, the liability, the problem in the contract, the worst case scenario. So lawyers more so, but every single person, we focus on what went wrong and we underestimate ourselves. So that's underestimating our own skills, our own sense of self-worth, and underestimating the resources we have, which are other people. So if you, for example, have a significant other and you live together with your partner, and you do half the dishes and they do half the dishes, what's your mind going to assume? Who does more dishes? What's your mind going to think? Just for practically, your mind will think that you do more dishes. Your mind will objectively think that you do like 60 to 70% of the dishes, while they're kind of riding on the 40 to 30%, because your mind is created to underestimate how much other people do for you. So remember that, and thank people more than you would be otherwise inclined to. Say thank you even more than your mind would rationally suggest, because if you look at the rational mind, or when you think your mind is never really that rational. It always puts a filter on things. It always puts a filter, even if you think you're connecting to reality. Be more grateful than otherwise. Through this gratitude practice, I hope that you create a positivity bias as opposed to a negativity bias. And as a result, you'll be much happier, but also you just see reality more clearly when you do that. The other part of gratitude that I think is incredibly powerful, that relates to your everyday experience, is that it reduces your level of suffering. And I want to put this very important equation in the chat, which is that suffering equals pain times resistance. It's how much we resist our present moment experience that leads to the most suffering. There will always be some level of pain, some level of challenge. It's really inevitable. But how much you resist life as it's happening is how much you suffer. Gratitude is a way to lower that resistance that we have to life as it is. So for a few moments a day, when you're experiencing gratitude, you're welcoming your experience. You're not resisting your experience. As clinical psychologist Richard Miller says, what you're willing to be with, you move beyond. Or to run away from suffering is to run toward it. So if you can be grateful for even the challenges, for even the people you find difficult, for even the experience you wouldn't have chosen, if you can still be grateful that you're alive and you get to have this experience in this full cocktail of life, which has 1,000 sorrows, 1,000 joys, and everything in between. It's true for you, it's true for everyone. You can be grateful even for that. You reduce your suffering. If when it feels like everything's going wrong and it's a bad day and there's no support, be grateful for the breath. Just be grateful for the breath in your body. And that ends up being an enormous source of support for you. So with that, let's do one more meditation, and then we'll do one more kind of little teaching on the science. And then I'll ask you to write takeaways from our time together so we can bring your voice back into the discussion. So let's do a gratitude meditation for a moment when someone was really kind to you. I really want you to think of some moment when someone is very generous to you. The more you think about that, the easier it is to be generous with other people. So beginning this short practice by closing the eyes, getting comfortable in your chair. Find the breath in your body. Feel the sensation of the breath making contact with the nose. And saying, I am grateful for this breath, for this life, for this moment. Gratitude for this presence. And I want to give you a few seconds, a few moments to watch the breath as it enters the nose, but watch it with a kind of gratitude. Watch the breath for a few moments with appreciation. Feel the stillness of your body, and with appreciation, watch the breath coming in and out of the body. And now, from this awareness, bring to mind a memory. Bring to mind a time when you were given a lot of care, when someone gave you attention or affection or a gift, or maybe taught you something, or was just kind for absolutely no reason. Bring that memory into your mind, into your heart, into your body. Feel into it. And let the body feel that experience of having received the gift. Remembering how it felt to be taken care of. And sit with those sensations for a few moments. Feel into the release, the glow, the warmth, the connection of that moment, the generosity of that moment. And thanking that person in your mind, saying thank you. I am grateful to you. What you did meant so much to my life and to open my heart. And now setting the intention to show others generosity as well. And setting the intention to be grateful for what's there for us right now. Grateful to all the things that hold us in the web of life. Being grateful that we live on an earth with lakes and mountains, with oceans and forests that we can experience. Being grateful for the good meals you've eaten across time, across the years. Grateful for the kind words you've heard. Grateful for all the moments of connection and all the joys you felt. Gratitude for the freedom to learn and to connect and to walk the earth. Feeling grateful even for the challenges that you have that have helped you grow. And finally, let yourself feel grateful for all the moments to come, the adventure that lies ahead. Maybe even feeling grateful for not knowing, for the wonderful things life has to offer that you don't know about yet, for all the people who you are going to love and you haven't even met them yet, for all the moments of connection and joy that you will experience that you cannot even predict yet. Feeling gratitude fill your heart like a warm glow of light. And finally, being grateful to yourself for being here and for having done this meditation practice. And take a deep breath in through the nose. Take a deep breath out through the mouth. And as you feel ready, coming back, opening your eyes. And that was our gratitude meditation. And I hope that as you open your eyes, see what's beautiful in front of you, see the friendly faces in front of you, see the beauty that is there in your space. Let there be great gratitude there, just naturally. Gratitude to the people who invented internet and Zoom. Gratitude for the founders of the New York State Bar Association so that we can be in this at a talk through this organization. Gratitude to the scientists who have done this research that we're about to talk about. Gratitude to your heart. So let gratitude be all-inclusive. It's like an all-inclusive resort with gratitude. Everything gets to go inside. So I want to touch on the science. And as we do that, I'd love to just see a word in the chat of how the meditation went, if you feel like sharing, because it's always nice to, again, hear your voices. I want to read you something from a Harvard Medical School article. Gratitude is strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness. Gratitude helps feel more positive emotions, relish good experiences, and in addition to that, it helps you improve your health in a very concrete way. So what it's highlighting that is, yes, it leads to happiness, but it also leads to health, in addition to helping us deal with adversity or building strong relationships. And it's gratitude that builds happiness, not the other way around. So it's not like when you get the promotion or win the lottery or move to your dream house, then you can be grateful and then you'll be happy. You're grateful now and then you're happy. And I find that the more grateful you are, the more there is to be grateful for, the more good things happen to you. So gratitude basically rewires the mind to be more optimistic. So grateful people just have more positive emotions. And if we're really honest with ourselves, it's not really the things that we want, it's the emotions. It's not really the job or the house, it's the feeling that we get along with it. It's the experience that we get. And gratitude just goes right to the experience. So it goes right to the bottom line. It goes right to the thing that we're actually looking for. Another cool piece of research about gratitude is that it's the nature of the human mind that it gets habituated to positive things. So like if you have like an amazing warm sweater for the winter and like the first 3 times you wear it, you'll feel so cozy in it and you'll enjoy it. Then by the fifth, sixth, 10th time, you'll take it for granted and you won't have the rush of pleasure. Or if you're eating your favorite dessert, your favorite pumpkin pie, let's say, and you have 1 spoonful, it's amazing. You have 10 spoonfuls, it's still pretty good. By the 300th spoonful, you'll say, get that stuff away from me. I don't want to even look at it anymore. And please don't show it to me until next Thanksgiving if you had to eat like 3 of those pies. So there's a habituation. It's called hedonic adaptation in the scientific literature, where experiences that give us pleasure after a while don't give us pleasure. I think there's such a mainstream hookup culture right now because people have a hard time with things becoming less pleasurable over time, and something new feels pleasurable for the first short amount of time, even if it's not a deep experience. So like it's with everything. The new iPhone that you get, you'll love that like the screen is so sharp and the camera is so great, and then 3 weeks later you won't even notice. The thing that can change that hedonic adaptation is gratitude. If we feel truly grateful for the experience, the sweater, the pumpkin pie, if we feel truly grateful for the people we're with, we get the pleasure response over and over and over again. So gratitude increases positive emotions. The mechanism of that is that it reduces the hedonic adaptation. And for the same reason, it helps guard us against depression. So it reduces stress. It makes depression easier to cope with. And when you feel grateful for something, it stimulates the reward circuits in the brain. So every time I lead a meditation, every time I do a class, I just think I feel so grateful to be doing this work. I feel so grateful that I get to share something that's important and that's of value to me and share it with others and connect with people that way. So try before you do any work, before you interact with any person, before you eat any meal, to have gratitude. And in the long term, it reduces your anxiety, it builds healthier relationship, and it even improves how well you sleep. So the research behind gratitude is that it increases sleep duration and it increases how deeply you sleep, and it also helps you fall asleep more quickly than you otherwise would have. So those are some of the amazing scientific concepts. And I hope that they put this into perspective. In terms of gratitude in world religions, it's everywhere in every ancient tradition. So no matter what tradition you look like, you'll find a daily gratitude practice. It's there in the Hebrew Bible again and again. There's a Yiddish proverb that I love that if you can't be grateful for what you have received, then be grateful for what you have been spared. Islam and the Quran, there's a lot about gratitude, thankfulness. There's a part of the Quran that says, if you are grateful, you will receive more. Christianity in the New Testament is full of gratitude. I just want to quote the First Thessalonians: be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. And according to Meister Eckhart, a Christian mystic, if the only prayer you said in your whole life was thank you, that would be enough. I think that's really beautiful. If the only prayer in your life you said was thank you, that would be enough. In Hinduism, gratitude is how we reduce the ego. So the more we're grateful, the less our ego. And reducing the ego is a path toward enlightenment. So in Hinduism, it's considered that just through feelings of gratitude, it's possible to attain enlightenment. Huge teaching. So gratitude is sufficient for enlightenment. And then in Buddhism, which actually built on Hinduism, in Buddhism, gratitude is necessary for enlightenment. So you can't become enlightened unless you send gratitude. It's a necessary condition for your growth and enlightenment as a person. In Mahayana Buddhist scriptures, according to the Buddha Amitabha, there's this phrase, and this phrase summarizes the feeling of enlightenment. So this is how you feel after you've reached enlightenment. And this phrase is, thanks for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. So the way that the Buddha feels after enlightenment, according to Buddhist scripture, is thanks for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. So these seeds of gratitude are in every ancient tradition that you will look toward, and they're very powerful. And I think Thanksgiving is a really wonderful way to start practicing it in our daily life and to bring it into our daily life. So, in the spirit of generosity and exchange, after giving the talk, I'll ask you to write a takeaway and kind of write 2, 3 sentences, maybe one sentence even, about your insight or what you want to take away to the future from this talk. And in the spirit of receiving and giving, when you write the takeaway, I'll send you some gratitude meditations. So I don't think I think that's the only way I'll be able to send them to you. So I put the link in the chat for your gratitude takeaway. And if you write the takeaway tonight, I'll send you some recorded meditations on gratitude that you can just play anytime during the year. And
Hmm. I'm not sure where we lost Elizabeth there. Hopefully, she'll be able to join again. Luckily, we were just wrapping up, but we'll stay on and hope that she's able to join. I was actually just typing a resource myself, so I'll use this opportunity to plug that. Members of the New York State Bar Association have access to our lawyer assistance program, which has been around for quite some time. Hopefully, you're familiar with it. But we do have a confidential and free hotline that is available 24/7. I know that going into the holiday season, sometimes doing these meditations can bring up a lot of, or the stress of holidays can bring up a lot, as well as practicing these meditations. So I'm going to I'm going to email a lot of the information Elizabeth provides, as well as this this hotline resource. Trying to add it into the chat, but it's freezing. Yeah.
so my computer decided that it was
Oh, there
approving.
you are, Elizabeth.
Um, I don't know why, but my computer decided that it's time to turn off, and I disagreed with it and turned it back on. But we are back, and maybe you had a chance to share the takeaway, or maybe not. I'll put it in the chat again, but we will finish up our
Yes,
session full.
feel free to start. I was just plugging our lawyer assistance hotline, but feel free to add that link again.
Perfect. So I added the link again for the takeaway. Thank you to many of you who are still here despite the pause. And I look forward to reading your takeaways. I'll send you some more gratitude practices tonight so that you have them. And there's 2 more things I want to say. And it's that I feel always very special when my path crosses with a new group of people. And I want to be able to keep supporting you and keep sending you these kind of things that help you remember to practice compassion, self-compassion, and gratitude. If you want to receive a text from me every other morning, a brief text every other morning, that's a reminder to practice compassion, to practice self-compassion, to practice gratitude, take your phone and text the word 2023. So the message, like instead of hi, put 2023 to the number 41372. So shorter than a normal number, but you'll be automatically subscribed. And anyone you like is welcome to join. You're welcome to join. Anyone else you like. Usually whole families start joining all together. I can read you today's text message. Some of you are on this list already from last year or from knowing me. But today's message it was a really nice one, I thought. It had to do with being able to kind of say something kind, to building a certain attitude to every person that you encounter. And maybe I won't even find it, but if I do, I will tell you to give you an example of the kinds of text that you get. So that's the first announcement. The second announcement is that I'll do a Thanksgiving morning meditation at 10 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning. It will be different from the 2 we did today, but for 20 minutes from 10 a.m. to 10:20 a.m. I'll guide a meditation over Zoom. And if you leave the takeaway, I'll also send you that invitation. Oh, today's text message was, today, as you interact with others, say in your own mind, every part of you is welcome, every part of me is welcome. So that was today's message. Okay, so those are all our announcements, and I look forward to serving you in any way that is useful to you. I do one-on-one coaching for stressed out lawyers for their well-being. And I do ongoing classes and meditations on compassion, self-compassion, mindfulness, and happiness. To end today, I just want to share a few more inspiring quotes in the last minute. One is from Alphonse Karr, French novelist from the 19th century. Some people are always grumbling because roses have thorns. I am thankful that thorns have roses. And a final one is from a professional football player, Ralph Martson. Make it a habit to tell people thank you, to express your appreciation, sincerely and without the expectation of anything in return. Truly appreciate those around you, and you'll soon find many others around you. Truly appreciate life, and you'll find that you have more of it. So the practices I want to leave you with is writing out every day what you're grateful for. It's a practice that pays off tenfold, and research suggests that it physically leads to a more healthy heart. There's research from UC Davis that the physical health of your heart gets better as you do this exercise. And more broadly, listen with gratitude, look with gratitude, feel with gratitude. And from a professional point of view, it can't help but be useful to the work you do, your clients, your coworkers, the quality of the work you do. But even more importantly, it'll help you live a very meaningful life. It'll help you be generous to others. And to end, I just want to send you some wishes. So close your eyes and just receiving in the last few seconds together and just saying, I accept. May gratitude fill your heart and fill every area of your life. May you find that you are more at ease every day. May you be grateful for the challenges, for the difficult people, and for the joys. And every single day, may you have more energy, more happiness, more joy, more inner peace. And opening your eyes again. And thank you. It was a really warm energy today. We're 2 days away from Thanksgiving. Now we're very ready. I hope to see you again Thanksgiving morning. And a very special thank you to the New York State Bar Association, for Jennifer Clayton, for our ongoing partnership and being able to support lawyer well-being. And let's just say bye to each other and wave. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. I will send a recording out to everyone who registered for this program, so you'll receive that and some resources as well. Thank you all for taking the time, for fitting this into your busy lives.
Night.
Elizabeth, take care. Have a great night, everyone.